and you have heard this, making sure that you're adding strong passwords to all of your applications when you're creating new accounts. And a lot of software, a lot of apps, a lot of online retailers are very good at urging you to kind of not have a password that you've used in the past, changing your password every so often. But it is really our responsibility to make sure that we're not using our kids' names with their birth dates at the end. And yes, I am 100% guilty of that. So a great way to do this is to use a password manager. And once again, now more than ever, we need to be utilizing online delivery like Instacart and Grubhub and Amazon, and being at home, we have to be engaging with these online systems. So making sure that we have strong passwords that nobody can hack is really important. My recommendation is LastPass. It's a great tool. There are free options for the software. You can install it on both your desktop PC, on your tablets, on your mobile device. There's also a couple of other options like Keeper and Dashlane. I think doing a little bit of research, browsing, seeing what works for your needs is really important. But it's a great way to not have to have a little book next to your computer with all of your passwords written down. I think those days should be over. Burn that book, get an online password manager, and make sure that you're protecting yourself. And honestly, none of us can remember hundreds of different passwords. It's impossible, which is why these companies are thriving. And as I said, now we're digital more than ever, and it's really important to kind of combine all of these practices in order for us to feel a little bit better. And yes, once again, it is time consuming, but it's something that we should really consider. And it's the learning curve is not very steep. You just download, let's say LastPass, you download it to your computer, you create one kind of general password to log in. But you can do this on your mobile device as well. And what I have found to be very useful, for example, if you are a little bit apprehensive to download some of the software, you could just, for example, on the iPhone, you can open a Word document in your notes. You can store some sensitive information, and you can password protect that particular note. I don't have screenshots of that, but it's very easy, it's intuitive, and if you don't feel like going through all of these steps, like downloading LastPass or Dashlane, just create a password protected note in your phone that only you know, something complicated that you will remember, and maybe try kind of storing all of your passwords in that way first before kind of jumping into software like Keeper. So I urge you to keep that balance between not being online and not kind of entering personal information, but also giving in a little bit. I think now more than ever, we need that interaction. We need to be in the online world. And so practicing some of these behaviors, I think, can be very helpful.
Just as a general rule, what would you think ideally you should be considering changing your password? How often?
Well, I think so. For, let's say, my university email, they mandate that I have to change my password every 2 or 3 months. So I think that's pretty good practice. Even if you do it once every 6 months, and even if it's not such a big change, actually what I've been doing lately is, let's say if there's an I in my password, I will change that to an exclamation point. So those are sort of easy things to remember. So I don't have to change the entire phrase, but let's say if my password is Galina, I will do capital G, A-L, exclamation point, and A. And so it becomes more confusing. It's a little bit more difficult, but still it's something that I can remember. So if I'm not using my black book or my notepad that's password protected on my phone, it's a good way to remember. So the more often that you do it, the better, but we all have other things to do. So just kind of changing little things, I think, is easy.
So you are not advocating for the password that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that you wouldn't say that's very it's very safe or secure?
No, and actually there's a great, if you're on YouTube, there's a great bit, I think, by Jimmy Kimmel, where he goes around the street and he asks people for all of their private information and they completely surrender it. So it's social engineering. It's so fascinating and interesting. We're all victim of it, I think. So I would recommend don't use password 1, 2, 3.